Springfield's Talk 1041. Hey, everyone. Good Thursday. This is Nick Reed, and I would like to welcome you to the show today, as I'm sure Sarah Myers would like to
Oh
welcome
my
you.
goodness.
Oh,
Hello.
yeah.
Hey, everybody.
That's,
Doing great.
just doing one.
Get you some coffee.
That's right. Maybe some bacon.
That sounds good too.
Just cram it in your mouth by the fistful.
Stop.
No.
Too
Go ahead.
far.
Yep,
Too
that's what
far.
I was waiting for it. Too far. Tomorrow morning we will be broadcasting live from Scramblers, the Friday Road Show. Let's see. Tom Arts will be with us. I'm trying to think who else is slated. We do have slated to join us tomorrow the owner of Hotel of Terror.
Ooh.
Yes, he is going to be with us, I think, at 8:30. That is the current plan. He, of course, is once again facing the wrath of government as, he didn't do anything wrong. He's just a private business owner in Springfield, and the city is intent on making a point that they are in charge, not the citizens, and certainly not private business owners, and just unanimously brought the hammer down and said, we're going to eminent domain you. He has 30 days to get enough signatures for a vote in which the people will decide whether or not to overrule the rulers of the city. We'll chat with him on Friday about that. Today, Christy Fulnecki will be with us. She'll probably talk about that as well. She is his attorney, of course. And last word I had, she will have Samantha, her daughter, will be joining us as well in studio. Samantha, of course, continuing to make national headlines because of the situation she really was thrust upon her as a student who had her paper given a 0 for reasons that were not legit. I think objective observers could note. In fact, I think it's very telling that one of the criticisms from people who don't like her stance, don't like her position, is that, well, I mean, the paper wasn't even that good. Did you read it? It wasn't. That paper wasn't good at all. Oh, it's just embarrassing. Well, the problem is that's not why it was graded. If the transgender TA that gave the 0 had said, well, it's poorly written, here's, and there was, I think, worth 40 points, 10 categories of 10, and if one of them was grammatical structure or whatever, and so it was marked off, and instead of 40 out of 40, she got 32 out of 40, then you go, okay. But that's not what happened. She was given a 0 because, among other reasons, she might hurt people's feelings with her opinion. And I think it's very telling that those people who have been critical of her are not arguing in favor of, or not justifying what happened in a manner that suggests that it was fair or correct. They find other ways outside of that realm to criticize her, which is fine. It's perfectly fine to evaluate the paper itself and to argue that perhaps it's not written well. And I'm the last one to judge that sort of stuff. I can't write worth anything under the sun. That's perfectly fine, but that is a separate issue from the way that it was graded. And it wasn't even graded. In fact, it was just given a 0. I think we use that terminology that it was graded. It wasn't at all. It was just dismissed out of hand. So anyhow, we'll chat with her in the 7 o'clock hour. Sarah is in full Code Red panic mode. Because we still have how many kids whose gifts have not been turned in yet with the deadline at noon 30 today?
33.
All right.
So that's a lot. Can you please get them in? Please.
There's traditionally a couple, 3 kids or so that don't make their way back in, and we're always able to handle that. 33 is probably a little too many for us to handle. So, excuse me. Now, that being said, I fully know that it's usually the last day that the lion's share ends up coming in, or at least that's what I tell myself. So we will see if I once again will be correct in my assumption that we're not going to have anything to worry about. Or will Sarah's panic be justified? We shall find out tomorrow.
Yep, tune in tomorrow this time.
Yes, tune in tomorrow. All right, a couple of things. Well, we'll play just a bit of audio from Trump's speech last night. The thing about Trump giving a speech, and I don't know, conventional wisdom is we're going to play all sorts of clips and evaluate it. But Trump gives speeches every day, essentially. They just aren't as structured. I say as structured because even when it is a structured speech, you can tell when he what do they call it? Freestyles. You can tell when he goes off script.
When he weaves.
When he weaves, you can you just sense it. I think you probably do. I know I do. He'll be given the speech. He's got the teleprompters, and then you're like, oh, here he goes. And a lot of time, it's reiterating what was previously scripted for him to say, because I think that he oftentimes I don't know if fear is the right word, but he's worried that you don't really get how good he's made it or how bad it was. So he'll reiterate those things. So even you want to say a structured speech, that's up for interpretation. Relatively speaking, though, whether it is a structured or unstructured speech, he's given like every single day. And so I thought to myself, I'm going to play kind of the closing because I thought the closing was nice in his speech. And he did make some announcements, including a $1,776 check that will be going to our troops, our soldiers. And that, of course, a welcome surprise, saying that it's already in the mail, that already on the way. And other than those things, it was pretty much just, hey, all right, now that we're all here together, we're going to go over some things that we've talked about lots of times before, and that's the successes and the direction that we're heading and so forth. I did want to mention that many of you, I'm sure, particularly if you are on X or Truth Social, Dan Bongino, as was teased to some degree yesterday, has announced that he is going to be leaving the FBI. His potential replacement, though, the New York Post has some information on that according to sources, and it's a close-to-home individual, relatively speaking. That all straight ahead right now. Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see an 80% chance of showers in the morning, otherwise breezy with temps falling to about 46 this evening. Tonight clear with a low around 24. For your Friday, sunny skies with a high near 48. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 60.
FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino resigning his position, or will resign, with less than a year on the job after reportedly packing up his belongings and bidding adieu to his team. He announced on social media last night, "I will be leaving my position with the FBI. I want to thank President Trump, AG Bondi, Director Patel for the opportunity to serve with purpose. Most importantly, I want to thank you, my fellow Americans, for the privilege to serve. God bless America and all those who defend her." Trump confirmed yesterday that Bongino is heading for the exits after joining the administration in March, saying Dan did a great job. I think he wants to go back to his show. We'll talk about that in a moment. So this is a New York Post piece, and they say, a source said that it's understood Bongino's co-deputy director, Andrew Bailey,
Missouri boy.
Missouri boy who gained his position in September, will take on the full traditional duties of the deputy role. And so, we got Ed Martin, doing work in the area of D.C. What is he, like assistant attorney? I forget even what Ed Martin does. He's a Missouri guy. Of course, Andrew Bailey. You got Will Scharf, working there in the White House. And, of course, I think it's fair to say Hawley, as a senator, is high profile. Schmidt is... I think he is getting there as well, but for different reasons. And I'm actually going to play some audio of his coming up this morning. Congressman Burleson continues to get more traction. And so for a state that once upon a time, in terms of high-profile individuals, was identified as, Claire McCaskill, it certainly seems as if Missouri has gotten an upgrade, depending on your perspective. So Andrew Bailey, according to sources in the New York Times, will be the new deputy director of the FBI under Kash Patel. It's going to be interesting to see what he does do next. Will he go back to having a show? And here's why I think it'll be interesting. First off, if he comes back to doing a show, here's the challenge. I should say that if I were in his position, this would be what I would consider to be a challenge. You have an expectation upon yourself. I suspect he does. I believe that he does. Of offering up yourself to your audience in a way that the audience can legitimately expect you to be completely 100% honest and transparent. And Dan Bongino, I believe, legitimately earned that. I think it's one of the reasons that people really liked him. And given that his background was Secret Service, and so he was able to give a lot of insight, and he said a lot of things that were assessments of his that demonstrated that he was suspicious of the system like the average person is. He was one of us instead of one of them. If he comes back on air, I suspect that there will be, I don't know if loyalty is the right term, but a balance of still being received as honest and transparent, but not doing or saying anything that he feels might do harm to the Trump administration, now that he's really been part of it. And some of that may even be him now knowing about certain things that are going on that he, quote, can't talk about. So, and some of that may be in context. And that may be fair and legitimate, but having been in that position, and if he does try to make that balance, I think that a large portion of his audience will sniff that out. And they will feel as if he has, quote, sold out. And I'm not saying that any of this is legitimate. I'm just talking human perception. That they no longer are getting the truth from him, that he has changed, that he has become one of them, that he no longer is willing and able to tell the full truth, whereas once upon a time he was. And, it's just a different situation for him. Being in that situation doesn't even mean that he has changed in as much as his situation has changed. When you're on the outside, you can speculate based off of your knowledge of how things work operationally, and that speculation sometimes almost sounds like you're exposing the truth when it's just speculation. And people can expect you, once you actually get in, in current situation, in a position of authority with knowledge, and then you come back out, okay, now you're going to tell us everything that's going on. And I don't know that is something that's not as easily said as done for a number of reasons. Particularly if you, as a moral individual, feel obligated to stay consistent with your pledge to not reveal certain things. And so you can't, and the further challenge is if you are in an effort to be as honest and transparent with your audience as possible and acknowledge that, well, I can't talk about this or that, that can be damaging to that relationship between what the listener expects and what Dan Bongino has been in the past. And I don't, like I said, it's not at all a criticism, and it would be a very difficult position to be in. There was this relationship in which, prior to this administration in particular, and even sort of in the beginning of it, Dan Bongino was seen as on the same page with listeners in terms of suspicious of this, and that, and talking about this, and I guarantee you it was an inside job sort of thing. And I just don't know that, given what he has been exposed to, he is going to be able to carry on that consistent personality in a way that the listener is going to feel like he didn't change at all. I just don't. Now, I suppose it is possible, but the only way I can see that really happening is a way that I don't know that he would do, because it would be calling... Gosh, what's the best way to describe this? Trying to read the minds of people. I'm just trying to, I try to put myself in the position of, a Dan Bongino listener, and there are things that you and I are very suspicious of, right? Things that even with the new administration, we say this doesn't make sense. Let's just use a real life example. This is poor Dan Bongino. He's in this position of reality, and then everybody, you get the speculation. But I'm just thinking about these challenges that he may have. January 6th bomber. Would-be bomber. Let's say 100% legitimately, which I do think is a possibility, that it was just one sort of lone crazy guy, and that the quote cover-up of it wasn't because he was coaxed into doing it or because there was some sort of conspiracy, but because the Biden administration just sort of had an idea, oh, this may be the guy, but he's a black guy, not some MAGA hat wearing Trump supporter, and so let's focus on those people. And that, say that was the whole reason for it, legitimately. And Dan Bongino gets back and talking about it, and that's what he explains. I think there's a significant portion of the audience that will not believe that. And even if it's true, they will believe that, well, we can't trust him any longer. He no longer has credibility. And if you don't have credibility as a host, then it becomes very, very difficult to sustain an audience. And so it's just, this is why I think it's going to be a real challenge for him if he does come back. Because even the things that may completely be 100% legit presented from him, where he's like, listen, you just have to trust me. I know because I was there. Well, that makes him seem like he has become one of them. And I don't envy that challenge. And who knows, maybe he doesn't go back to radio. I would if I were him, but that's just going to be a big challenge he's got. But anyhow, that was the announcement made, and I'm sure that at the very least, people are going to expect, his listeners, his fans, those that find him to be straightforward, transparent, honest. Like, why is it that even less than a year you decided to get out? There must be something going on there that you felt was either wrong, inconsistent with your values, or you got a feeling that what needs to happen for me to continue to be part of this is not happening, so I'm out. What was that thing? And I think there will be an expectation from his followers and listeners to talk about those things. And that's a tough position to be in, because you don't want to start making Trump look bad. You don't want to make Trump supporters or make it sound like you're saying, well, Trump can't fix these problems, and it's rock and a hard place. I don't know. He may regret that decision, but it was a very difficult one to say no to, I imagine. Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the show. We do have Author of the Week coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. I forgot to mention that. Sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. To give you a sense of the genre, this is an author that Sarah helped me steal from James Clary.
Yes.
In fact, I don't know if you know this or not, but talking with this author, he's a local guy, he mentioned that he credits James with helping him essentially be able to finish up his book and get it all said and done. And so, like I said, that probably, those of you that listen to James' show, maybe give you a sense of the sort of feeling of what the book might be about. Not specifically, but genre-wise, a little bit kooky, I think some may say. So we do have that coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, and I mentioned next hour, Christy Fulnecki, or her daughter Samantha, will be in studio with us as well. So if you specifically have questions for either of them, but Samantha, given all of the coverage that she has received because of that situation she was thrust into because of a bigoted employee at the university there in Oklahoma, which she attends, just feel free to text those in on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447 KSGF.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see an 80% chance of showers in the morning, otherwise breezy with temps falling to about 46 in the afternoon. Tonight clear with a low around 24. For your Friday, sunny skies with a high near 48. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 60.
Feedback from Chad. We recently had the pleasure of working with Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty, top-notch realtor right in Springfield, Missouri. We could not have asked for a better experience. Emily's expertise, professionalism, and unwavering dedication truly set her apart. She listened closely to our needs. She was patient with us during our extended home search and provided invaluable insights, not just into Springfield, but Nixa, Ozarks, Stratford, Willard, and Republic, helping us make informed decisions every step of the way. Emily even helped us coordinate renovations, connecting us with excellent local contractors and making sure our new home was exactly how we envisioned it. Her strong negotiation skills saved us significant money, making the process seamless from beginning to end. We highly recommend Emily Johnson to anyone needing an exceptional realtor in Springfield. If I've learned anything from Emily, and the reviews of folks who have been through the entire process with her, the realtor you choose matters. It's not simply someone who lets you into a home to tour it or shows people your home if you have it on the market. There is so much more that you can save and that can benefit you when you have the right person who is completely dedicated. And the best you're going to find in the area is Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. I was mentioning earlier Missouri just really seems to be on the map with people that have made their way into significant positions. I think that politically speaking, Congressman Burleson certainly has done so. Both Hawley and Schmidt, U.S. senators, have done so. From a non-political standpoint, you've got in the Oval Office with the president, you've got Will Scharf. Ed Martin has been significant, and the New York Post is reporting that Andrew Bailey, former Attorney General here, is going to be replacing Dan Bongino. And it totally, because his name hasn't been in the news for a while, somebody's like, don't forget Billy Long. He was IRS commissioner for a short period of time, but I wonder if he's moved yet. Does he have to be approved? I don't know, the ambassadorship situation. I think I have really decided that if I ever quote retire from doing this, I'd like to be an ambassador somewhere. I think that would be, you go live in another country and you get housing. I don't think it pays a lot, but if you're retired, I would absolutely do that. Now I don't know where. And I would have to figure out some selling point for myself. It's not like I have background in any other country to where I can be like, hey, and I'm not some big fundraiser that can essentially purchase an ambassadorship. I don't have a lot going for me in that way, but you never know. Would you do it?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of factors.
I would. I think I would. I think it'd be a neat thing.
Yeah, it's still saying he's unconfirmed. So I don't know. I don't know what all goes through that process.
I'm sure it's a Senate confirmation thing. Yeah, I know. Well, sometimes they have actual hearings, but I don't know if they will for that position. What a thing to sit around and wait for. Last night, Trump, doing an end-of-the-year speech, made a couple of announcements. One, he said because of tariffs, along with the just-passed One Big Beautiful Bill, tonight I am proud to announce that more than 1,450,000 military service members will receive a special we call Warrior Dividend before Christmas, a Warrior Dividend in honor of our nation's founding in 1776. We are sending every soldier $1,776. He said nobody understood that until about 30 minutes ago. That's how he's back there really making sure that got wrapped up. He said we made a lot more money than anybody thought because of tariffs, and the bill helped us along. Nobody deserves it more than our military, and I say congratulations to everyone. Now, you open the speech, going through, here's what we inherited, and of course it was the worst of everything, and it was really bad. I mean, even with Trump's tendency to exaggerate, oftentimes you're like, well, but that is true. I mean, it was really, really bad. And then noting, how he is turning things around. And, I don't think there really was anything other than perhaps the announcement of those dividends. And he had some charts, given numbers and so forth. There really wasn't anything new in there. And that is not because it's not a criticism of Trump. He's just always talking to us, and so it isn't like, oh my gosh, he's going to come out of hiding and I wonder what he's going to say. I don't think there's a day he doesn't talk to the press. If he goes 30 minutes without talking to the press, they start speculating about his health, and he must be sick and dying because he hasn't talked to us and we haven't seen him for 30 minutes. I do still think one of the challenges, I understand the instinct, but it is like the charts and the graphs, and the economy's a feeling. It really is. And while that isn't what it is, like, no, the economy, it's numbers, it's money. But people's perception of how well the economy's doing, it's a feeling. That's what really worked against the Biden administration, is trying to tell people, no, everything is wonderful and fine. You don't know. You just don't appreciate what Biden has done. And I equated it to, you have, let's say your internet goes out and you call the number for tech service and they tell you everything's fine, and you're like, no, it's not, it's out. And they're like, well, no, we're looking on our end and it says everything's fine, so I don't know what to tell you. And that really makes you angry, right? You're mad because they're telling you no, everything's fine when you know it's not. And that really worked against the Biden administration, as they were running around claiming you just don't understand, you don't appreciate it, or sometimes they'd shift it to it's not his fault. And while Trump, the Biden administration was, of course, lying, the Trump administration is telling the truth about the numbers and about these components to the economy that are the early signs of, okay, things are turning around. But it does take a while to get to people. It takes a while if it is going to happen in a deep, meaningful way for the average American. That does not happen overnight. It just doesn't. It doesn't with anything, turning it around. I mean, any business, if a business goes in the hole because it's so horribly managed, and you get the smartest guy in the world when it comes to turning around businesses in charge, it doesn't happen in a week. It takes a long, sustained period of time with a lot of sometimes painful changes in order to make that happen. And that's what's going on right now. And the belief of the administration is that things are going to turn around, and so all of this concern, it's just noise. And it isn't necessarily a lack of understanding from the Trump administration that people aren't feeling it yet. They just aren't that overly concerned about it because they believe that things are going to start kicking in to where people will. And they're just explaining the numbers right now to let you know intellectually, look, things are turning around. And so I believe Republicans who are running for re-election, their entire re-election plan or approach isn't so much, what do we need to convince the American people we're going to do if we stay in power? What is it we have to offer? They're just simply hoping that the economy turns around and that people will be happy and then put them back in power, which I don't think is a very smart or responsible approach by the Republican Party overall. But, just seems kind of lazy to me. Like, well, let's just hope things get better. And if they do, then it'll work out for us. Now, that being said, there are a number of Republicans that are working to try to come up with plans that are meaningful and that will have positive impacts. But I'm just talking about the party overall with leadership that has some sort of easily digestible and understood message as to if you reelect us, this is exactly why you will benefit in a real meaningful way that you can comprehend. And I just don't think that's happening. I think it's let's just hope things get better and then people will vote for us. So we'll see if that strategy works. This is Donald Trump rounding out his speech last night regarding it's sort of State of the Union to some degree.
Again, very simple. We are making America great again. Tonight, after 11 months, our border is secure. Inflation has stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our nation is strong. America is respected. And our country is back, stronger than ever before. We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen. Soon we will host the World Cup and the Olympics, both of which I got. But most importantly, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. There could be no more fitting tribute to this epic milestone than to complete the comeback of America that began just 1 year ago. When the world looks at us next year, let them see a nation that is loyal to its citizens, faithful to its workers, confident to its identity, certain to its destiny, and the envy of the entire globe. We are respected again like we have never been respected before. To each and every one of you, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless you all.
All right, so that was a round out of Donald Trump's speech yesterday from the White House. Coming up, I want to play audio. Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt came out of the SCIF, and this is an area in which only approved individuals, oftentimes lawmakers, are able to see documents or information in whatever form, video, for example, that isn't made widely available to the public. And it was specifically the ship that we were told Pete Hegseth, in some sort of frat party, drunken, fun style order, said, double tap them, kill them all, which of course turned out to be a big lie. And the full video, Hegseth has said, look, there's things about it that just make it not smart to release in terms of national security. Now, obviously, some people are going to say, well, of course you say that because it shows something horrible. Along with Democrat senators, Eric Schmitt viewed that video, and he had comments on it. That next. I'm Nick Reed. All right, I haven't had a chance to hear the audio of this, so I'm just going to play it, which is somewhat of a
Okay.
gamble, but it's on X, and I was talking about Will Scharf, and I was sent a clip of Will Scharf was honored with lighting the menorah at the first Trump Hanukkah reception earlier this week, which I did not know. And so I'm going to play for you this audio. It's about 30 seconds long. I don't know how much of it is actually audio. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to listen to it. But Trump makes a comment in here that I think from the description that I think is pretty funny.
Shots. He was that Jewish. Basically Jewish.
I think he's really shocked. You're that Jewish.
You are seriously Jewish.
I didn't know that Jewish. That is really, really funny. I was watching an interview with Elon Musk, and he was asked, who's the funniest person you know? And he thought about it for a moment, as he does, and he said Donald Trump, because he's just naturally funny. That's really good. I didn't know he was either. Had no idea he was Jewish. But well, it's the most bizarre and surreal thing about that is to see so many Nazis sitting around the menorah like that, and
Just allowing it to happen.
Just allowing that to happen. But although that Trump's quote there, I guess that could have been Hitler's. I didn't know you were so Jewish. You're really Jewish. That could have been something Hitler said. Will Scharf yesterday. Let me tell you, I like Will Scharf. Josh Hawley, I've talked about. I don't think there's anyone who is as good at questioning or interrogating someone during hearings in the Senate as Josh Hawley. He nails it. I just think he is the best at that. And when it comes to talking with reporters, he's pretty good as well. He has a polished way about him. What I like about Eric Schmidt reminds me of, like, I don't know how to describe him. He's not as polished, but in a good way. He's just so straightforward. And I really like that, particularly when he's talking to reporters. And here he comes, and he's being asked about the left is still on this ship thing, and Pete Hegseth murdering fishermen who are shipwreck survivors out seeking help in the waters off Venezuela. And here the reporters catch up to Schmidt after seeing that video that hasn't been fully released.
Okay. I just was in the skiff. I saw the video, and I think the Democrats ought to be ashamed of themselves by trying to slander Admiral Bradley, who was executing a lawful order. The men on the boat were trying to continue their mission. That's the truth. And you got to remember where this started. The Democrats and the Washington Post falsely claiming that there was a kill everybody order. That's false. That's been debunked even by the New York Times. And so in an effort to protect American citizens from the poisoning that's happened, 100,000 people die every year. We have a vested interest in making sure these narco-terrorists don't kill Americans. And so in this instance, the people in the boat were sunk, and 100% legally justified. Also reviewed the 40-plus legal memorandum that lays out that justification. So if any Democrat comes out here and questions that, they're lying to you. They're lying to you because they don't like Pete Hegseth, they don't like President Trump, and they're willing to throw service members and highly decorated military men and women under the bus. And by the way, encourage people to break the chain of command because they don't like Trump.
The video should be released publicly?
I don't care if it's released or not. It's fine with me. I mean, I've seen it. That's a question for the Department of War. But
Did you see it specific reason?
we were made aware of that, which I'm certainly not going to talk to you about. But the video is pretty clear. The boat was struck. They were attempting to flip the boat back over. There's no question that they were attempting to try to connect with other people, other narco terrorists, and so the boat was annihilated.
People, they were reaching for a radio. In the earlier briefings, Bradley said that this was not possible.
No, he didn't say that.
Sorry,
He had no reason also not to believe that they still couldn't. That's the truth. To take out the narco terrorists poisoning Americans. Well, clearly Madero is part of one of these cartel rings. But right now, the focus is to blow the boats that are killing Americans out of the water. That will continue. It's also worth noting, based on our briefing yesterday, that activity has dropped dramatically. There is a deterrent effect here. It's hard to find people that want to get on these boats knowing that they're going to get blown up by the U.S. military. So progress is being made. I got to get
Back to, again, Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt there. I think the part of what I like so much is just the straightforward nature of it. But, ask what you would get oftentimes from more establishment Republicans is, well, I just saw the video and I know some of my Democratic colleagues have a different interpretation and I don't know what video I saw or they saw, but the one I saw looked like this. I just appreciate the fact that he comes out and he says, if they tell you anything otherwise, they are lying to you. They are lying, because that's exactly what is going on. And it isn't as oftentimes unvarnished elected officials have become, particularly Republicans since Trump got elected, in assessing Democrats. There's still so often this almost one-sided agreement that Republicans abide by, in which, well, we don't want to call them out as liars exactly. And I just appreciate the fact that Eric Schmidt doesn't handcuff the truth by abiding by such one-sided rules, and instead just speaks the truth. Right. Christy Fulnecki joining us in the upcoming hour. Samantha Fulnecki as well. So if you have any questions of her, Pyramid Roofing Company text line 447 KSGF. Springfield's Talk 104.1, and welcome everyone to the show. It's the last day to get your Santa's Angels gifts in. Sarah's in full panic mode because we got
I'm trying not to
30
be.
some kids out. She expected a convoy of vehicles.
Well, that's what you told me during break. You said I could expect to see a convoy, and it
Yep,
would be a
they're all
Christmas
gonna come.
miracle.
Yeah, well, the morning's not over. The day's not over.
Yeah.
So we could still have that Christmas miracle. I want a great homeloan.com. You got any home loan needs, refinancing needs, questions about it? How do interest rates impact it? Do you have to have 20% down? Answer's no on that. I suppose there may be some circumstances. USDA loans, that applies only to certain areas, and it depends on where you're going to buy a house. That's the thing about some of these loans. It's not always your specific situation in terms of debt to income ratio and credit score, but where it is that you're buying the house. There are a lot of factors in there, and there's a lot of stuff that you may not even know that you don't know, and that's where the characters in their team come in. So reach out to them, use them as a resource, and then when the time comes to go ahead and move forward, they will be ready to go for you. It all starts at iwantagreathomeloan.com because you do. We will tomorrow be at Scramblers, and the owner of Hotel of Terror is going to join us in the 8:30 or after 8:30 about the latest developments with the city once again. Moving forward with eminent domain, of course, we'll probably talk about that a little bit this hour. Christy Fulnecki representing him. But after we get the news and traffic, Samantha Fulnecki is in studio with us. And, of course, we've been talking about her for a few weeks now, as have, well, people
all over the world.
all over the world. So she's in studio. If you want to text any questions in, feel free to do so. 417-447-KSGF.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see an 80% chance of showers in the morning, otherwise breezy with temps falling to 46 in the afternoon. Tonight clear with a low around 24. For your Friday, sunny skies with a high near 48. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 60.
Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed, streaming live, KSGF.com. Well. Not just one, but two troublemakers in the studio. The last name
Indians too.
Right.
Samantha just hit me.
Yes, let's create.
That was for you, NBC Nightly News.
Let's create lots and lots of shares, shall we? In the next few segments. Samantha Folnecki in studio with us, and some people have texted and questions. We'll get to those coming up. But how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. What a whirlwind for you.
Yes.
I've likened it somewhat to Riley Gaines, not somebody looking for this at all, just trying to get an education, doing what you're supposed to be doing, and then you just kind of get wronged and you stand up for yourself, but then you also at the same time get portrayed as just somebody looking for trouble, and so if you would, I guess just sort of walk us through how all this transpired. I know, and you have done this probably 1,000 different times with outlets that are much, much more impressive than this one. So for you to do it here.
No, it's her hometown.
Yeah. Now, have you done anything? Is this the first you've done with her?
I think so.
Okay, well, so
been contacted by a lot of organizations, but she's been in Norman, so.
All right, so clearly we're making headlines here.
Yes, it's breaking news right here.
The two of you together. So tell us, just walk us through this.
Yeah, so it was for my psychology class, lifespan development, and we've been asked to do these reaction papers all semester where we read an article and then give our thoughts on it. And I've gotten 100 on all of these assignments in this class. So I just wrote the paper really quick, not even really a paper, it's just a reaction to an article, and the article was about gender stereotypes, and the stance I took was that I don't think kids are pressured to fit into gender stereotypes. I think they were created with those desires in their hearts, and I had a very biblical view in my reaction, and then I received a 0 on it, and the teaching assistant that graded it said that my work was offensive and that I needed more empathy.
0. So that apparently was not listed as a requirement.
No.
And so with it, then what was the sort of the sequence of steps that then took place?
After that, I reached out to the teaching assistant, and he was trying to claim that I needed empirical evidence if I was going to argue against the consensus of every medical field, saying that every medical field agrees that gender is not binary,
which is
right.
Not. So I reached out to the TA and sent screenshots of the instructions in the syllabus, and I said it doesn't say anywhere that I need any evidence at all, and we've never had to use it for this class. So, and then he responded and said, no, this is the grade you deserve, and he said the other TA agrees that this is what you deserve. So then I went to the department head of psychology, the equity office, president of OU, the dean, and then Ryan Walters and the governor. So I went to a bunch of different people after that.
Well, it's interesting that assignment, that what'd you call it, a reaction piece, or that you have done numerous and you've always gotten the full score on it. So you not only understood, but you were understood to comply with what the outline was, what it was you were supposed to do, and that is what you did. Mm-hmm. And so I'm guessing you were kind of shocked by this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then starts the reaction coming, of course. Did that shock you? Were you surprised by it? I mean, this whole thing, and for people that don't know your background, this is not your jam at all. Your areas of focus are elsewhere. Well, politics is not at all one of them. And so I imagine for you to be accused of sort of orchestrating this is probably somewhat humorous.
It is humorous.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. There's literally no way I could have orchestrated any of this. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I am not in politics realm at all. I guess I am a little bit more now, but I was not the one in my family interested in all of these things before. I usually I like studying medicine and things like that, and just, I don't know, going about my day-to-day like normal. So,
and she's also, because she played tennis or was on the tennis team at OU. So she was focused on, athletics. And I said that you had started the, what's it called at your sorority?
Oh, the Bible study.
Bible study. Yeah, sorry. The Bible study. And so she's doing other things, sports and, her faith and everything. And that's what I was talking about. I think it was last week when we all sit around and debate in our tiny dining room how loud it is. And so usually there's a couple of the siblings that are really screaming up about politics, and she's just kind of listening. Not that she doesn't have an opinion, but
do your siblings that you find these things interesting, are they really annoyed that this is you? that like, this is all lost on you. You just you're indifferent to it in a political context, I guess. Do they find that to be quite?
Yes. Yeah. Veronica said something about that. She was like, it's crazy that this is every political science major's dream, and this just happened to you randomly as a pre-med major.
Someone had wondered because they said, they texted in, they've seen or heard conflicting reports. Of course, the TA's trans. If you knew that ahead of time, and I don't know that it's even necessarily relevant, but they said they heard conflicting reports. So.
Yeah, I had no idea that the TA was transgender. I didn't know that until it came out on social media and everything kind of blew up. So I didn't know that for a while. And when I was writing it, some people were like, oh, she's just trying to get a reaction out of the TA. But I had no idea.
Right.
I was asked to give my opinion, so that's what I did. I didn't know so I'd offend anyone.
Right.
Right.
it just wasn't the right opinion, right?
Yeah. There's a right and a wrong opinion. You need to give us some guardrails here so we know what to follow. We're going to take a break. We'll continue on. And I'm just interested to know now how your view, if it's different in terms of politics. I mean, I guess you went from not really having much of one to just being thrust in a crazy way. Your thoughts on all of it, and then I know you're going to be going the huge Turning Point USA event coming up. You're, in fact, flying out today for that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so what all that's like as well. So we'll continue on here with Christy and Samantha Fulnecki on Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed, Chrissy Fulnecki, Samantha Fulnecki in studio with us. You have never been really interested in anything political. This has been thrust upon you. But I guess you've always hearing family talk about it, of course, your mom, who, for people who don't know, ran for mayor once in Springfield.
City council.
There's that too.
But, I did a few things on city council, but
so you're aware of conflicts and you're aware of things that happen because you hear it, but all of a sudden it's you. So what your perception of all that?
Yeah, I mean, my perception before all this was just that my family was really into politics. And I think because they're so strongly opinionated and so into politics, I just didn't really care because I knew that they would,
Sure, they'd
talk
keep you in
about
the
it.
loop.
Yeah, they'd keep me in the know. If something crazy happens, they'll definitely be talking about
Yeah.
it. So I just never really thought much of it. But after all of this, I think I have grown to understand it more and understand why people are involved in politics, because you can't really just rely on the president to fix every single like little problem, especially at universities and things where people don't really talk about these things that are happening, and talk about woke professors that are giving out bad grades and students just having to conform to their professors' opinions. So I think I have an appreciation now for people that are involved in politics.
Turning Point USA, huge event, tons of speakers. You've been invited. You're going to be heading there. I imagine even the names of the people that are going to be there. If 2 months ago you were told, "Hey, you're going to be going to this," probably your reaction would be a bit different than it is today.
Yes, definitely. I did not expect any of this, especially.
Well, but even like I imagine now you know who some of these people are, whereas you did not before.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, I'll ask my mom. I'm like, I don't know who this person is. She's like, you don't know who that is, but I don't know who any of these people are.
Except Riley. You knew.
Yes,
Riley,
I knew Riley Gaines.
And you did know her because you two have communicated. And again, I just equate what you're going through to what she went through in the sense that neither of you are political, neither of you are looking for this.
Yeah.
Well, now let me ask this, because it for her has turned into a trajectory of her life and career that's much different. Are you planning on sticking with your path, going medical? Are you going to divert from that, or what's that look like?
Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been considering both. I think all this stuff is really fun. I love talking to people, and I actually love public speaking now. So this stuff has been really fun for me. So I'm not opposed to that.
Well, you seem to do well. Of course, you've done tons of interviews, but oftentimes somebody who gets thrust into situations like this, they're just not real polished, as a normal person would not be. But you seem to take it pretty well. I mean, in stride.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I like how she's so comfortable talking about her faith, and then she talks to the media about God and Jesus, and I mean, so there are not many even adults that would say that to the media, that would stand up for what they believe in. So I'm really proud of her for doing that. And we were talking about the media, about the perspective, because there was an event. She's been at quite a few events, but one of the events, I guess the senators and the House representatives in Oklahoma gave her an award, and so there was a banquet, and Ryan Walters spoke at that. And so tell them what you were saying about the media.
Oh, yeah, Ryan Walters and the senator and other people there were making fun of the media and talking about how bad they were. And I was like, oh, I feel like they're being kind of harsh. They can't be that bad. And then I did a press conference after. They were so mean. I was like shocked. I was like,
why are you so horrible?
I mean, they were so unhappy. And I was like, that's really sad. They're like my age, too. I was like, I didn't know they were actually going to be really mean. So I was shocked.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
What's worse is they don't think that they are.
Yeah.
They think that they're virtuous, and they think you're bad, which is such a crazy thing once you realize that. Because I'm sure you're at some point you're like wondering, why are you coming? It was just a paper. Why are you coming?
Especially kids her age that are in the media, and so it was kind of funny because somebody was taking pictures around the event, and she had all this media around her. And so it was funny because we took the picture and we were passing around like our family chat. And I mean, they had this scowl on their face and their arms were crossed. I was like,
and I was just smiling, like standing there, answering their questions. I like didn't know what was going on. But one guy was like super mean. He was like, so how does it feel to just be dumb and not know how to cite anything? And I was like, whoa.
That was a reporter?
Yes.
Wow.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But it's kind of funny to me now because I just didn't know what to expect.
That is so
and these people, like all these crazy people that contact us, like literally from all over the world, I'm thinking, do you really think that you're going to change her opinion? I mean, do you think she's going to, I guess they're
my faith in Christ hasn't been shaken until now. You called me a dumb B word. Now I never really thought of it that way. Come on.
I mean, you just wonder, like, are they going to, I'm not going to change my beliefs or what I say. I mean, I guess they want to intimidate you so you'll stop talking about it, but they don't know that the people that actually believe in that doesn't intimidate them all. If anything, it makes you stand stronger. And so that does not work.
We've got Christy Fulnecki, Samantha Fulnecki in here. Do you also wonder, why do they care so much?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, I understand you have differing opinions from people, but it's like, why are you doing all of this? Because here's somebody, they don't even know you.
Mm-hmm.
These people from all over the country, the world. And it's like, why do you even care that much?
Yeah, I was shocked. I didn't think it was going to be some big national debate. I thought it was very clear, I thought the situation was very clear. I thought, everyone would be like, oh my gosh, yeah, she should not have received a 0 on that.
Yeah.
And just move on with their day. I did not think that was going to be some big debate where the other side was like, caring so much and crazy about it.
Aye.
Yeah.
That was their essential argument.
Yeah.
Was there a moment in which it kind of hit you like, uh-oh, this is going to be something bigger than I anticipated? Or what? I didn't know, like one moment, or was it a slow evolution?
When our Turning Point chapter at OU posted it on X, it like went so viral. So, and I saw so many famous people reposting it and talking about it. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, this is like huge.
Now, obviously, the haters reaching out to you, I suspect that a lot of people, particularly guys, wondering, like, are you single, wanting to connect with you? What's that been like?
Yeah, that's been pretty crazy. I have been asked on a couple dates, so that's been funny. But, yeah, I definitely got more hate than I expected.
Yeah.
I did not expect to get any hate from this. But that's been kind of interesting. I think sometimes it can be discouraging, but overall, usually I can just laugh at it because, it's not, I don't take it that personally.
Well, she's had a lot of support too. I mean, like I said last time, a lot of pastors, and especially, the older people, they've reached out to me, and, she actually needs an agent. There's so many people from around the world that want to interview her, and, all the thousands of podcasts. I know you've done some.
How many have you done?
You've done.
I have no idea. I've done so many.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of Christian organizations. And so, I mean, I think every Christian, I follow a lot of pastors and different, social media, and she's been on all of them and at least, talked about on the big ones.
Someone texted in, just wanted to send Samantha our support. We talked to our 2 girls about standing up for their beliefs and how sometimes people will try to shame or bully you out of that stance, and how important it is to not back down. So also thanks to her for providing a good example for our girls. And we've had events in which, I know we had the happy hour at Vineyard Market, and people were asking, if your mom, if Christy, was going to be there. And so, I texted her, she was sick. So she said, but they were like, just tell her, we just wanted to tell her that, how just, grateful we are that how they raised Samantha, and grateful for Samantha being such a great example. And I mean, you just see in our day and age what is held up as role models for young people and young girls. And it just, having like a real legitimate one, it's refreshing, I think.
Well, and I think
let's just sit here and talk. Let's say all these wonderful things like she's not here. Make her very uncomfortable.
Keep going.
Yeah. Now, when will this podcast be up? I'd like to send this to some people.
But, I mean, we were talking too, I think, and she didn't answer this, but, I've been through a lot of controversy for standing up for what I believe in. And so, and good or bad, I mean, the kids have had to deal with that.
Right.
And so, but both Eric and I have told them, all of them have supported, like, do whatever you want to do. But work hard and, do your best. And like I said a couple weeks ago, we were always focused on grades, right? Like when they were young, we would give them money for grades. So like in our family, obviously a doctor and a lawyer, that was the biggest focus of our family, and faith, I mean, it's not a secret. We were Catholic, and then we, I don't know if you call it converted, but started going to a different church a couple of years ago. And so, and then I think all of us got saved, almost all. Yeah. And started a totally different trajectory after me growing up Catholic.
Right.
So our focus to our kids is that, and part of your job as a parent is to figure out what God's will is for you. And so that's hard as a parent. But when you see something, to me, I think is very clear what God's will is here, because it's something that someone, she did not ask for this. Like I said, I could have picked a couple other kids that probably that this would have been their dream. But she's so strong in her faith. I don't think it's an accident. It happened to her.
Yeah.
And she's able to stand up and talk about, Jesus and the culture and the kids her age. So, I think, too, that you have to help your kids find out what God wants them to do. And like I was just talking last night, her sisters and her brother, they have a different path. They're supposed to be doing something else, and we have to help guide them to that. But
well, and I think part of, just on a broader scope, one of the real problems that we have in our culture, and it's not just young people, it's moved its way up, is a lack of, and I think it goes to this thing, like God. And God, when you have that relationship, there's a confidence there, and there's a purpose there. And I think every human being needs a purpose. And if you don't have, and for some people it's not necessarily a good purpose, it's all money, or it's this or that or so forth. For me, I think the most fulfilling and right on is that relationship with God. But you see all these questions about why are the school shootings and this and that and going on, and there's just such an emptiness with so many people, and they just don't know why. And it's such a stark example to me, the difference between people who don't have God or who don't have a purpose versus a person who really does. And there's just, I keep using the word confidence, but and security maybe.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I see that a lot too with like the people that have said a lot of mean things about this, because I mean, that's just kind of how I view it. Like people, they won't understand. Like if you don't have the Holy Spirit, you can't understand.
Yeah, no, totally. 100%.
So,
I've always thought, they when you see these movies about love, and like, how do you know when you're in love? And like, you can't describe it. You just know it when it happens. And I've thought of it in the same way with when that happens, when you really make that connection as a Christian with Christ and God, and you if you don't know it, you don't understand it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing that people think that being a Christian means you have an easy life. It does not mean that. If you're not persecuted, you're not. And actually, Charlie Kirk I just watched a video the other day when he was talking about that I mean, you have to live a very uncomfortable life when you're a Christian, and you have to be comfortable knowing that a lot of people are going to come after you. And we were just talking about this last night. Sometimes it's a lonely path, and sometimes you feel like but you have to do that. But that's part of your responsibility.
At the same time, and I think this is what people oftentimes will see as a contradiction. Yes, it is, like you said, uncomfortable and difficult, but there's that security there at the same time.
Right, yeah.
And I think people who don't have it, they don't understand, well, how can you talk about being so joyous and confident and everything, but at the same time, the persecution, and like Samantha said, you can't really describe it. It's like trying to tell a blind person what something looks like. Until you do see, you just, I don't know, you don't know.
Well, I think one thing's interesting I want her to talk about is since she's in a sorority, because she started her Bible study, and that's not something you see in Greek life.
This
is way before this happened.
Well, let's take a break. And one of the other things I do want to ask is where things stand right now, because people heard all the initial, but does the TA still work there? What's going on with that, and so forth. So we'll continue on. Christy Fulnecki, Samantha Fulnecki, Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see an 80% chance of showers in the morning, otherwise breezy with temps falling to 46 in the afternoon. Tonight clear with a low around 24. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 48. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 60. And Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air, I keep talking about how winter's just right around the corner, and then as you just heard, the temps continue to rise. So maybe if I keep doing that, it'll keep the cold weather away. Probably not, but that's why it's very important to take care of your heating system before it gets too cold. If you're noticing odd noises every time your heat kicks on, maybe it's not warming your house as fast as previous years, or maybe your utility bill has just had a pretty big jump. Those are all warning signs that something is not right. Now, the Foreman team, they are the trusted professionals in the HVAC world. They can tackle anything from inspections and maintenance to repairs to new unit installs, and they do residential and commercial services, so they can take care of your home, your business, or maybe both. So if it is time to have the Foreman team out to your business or your home, reach out to Russell today. You can find all of the contact information for Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
In studio, Christy Fulnecki
Yes.
and Samantha Fulnecki. And by the way, I really do genuinely thank you for coming in. And I mean, you're on academic vacation, I guess, and getting up early in the morning instead of sleeping in. I know you do this all the time as of late, all these interviews, and a lot of them are a little bit bigger than our outlet here.
No.
So, well, in terms of reach.
Oh, well, that's true.
So, no, we really, really do appreciate it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
last time I asked you, Christy, this was a couple of weeks ago, like, how are students treating you on campus? And at that time,
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
you hadn't been back. You had just been doing like online classes. So have you been back on campus since then? And what has been the reaction?
Yeah, I have. The only reaction I really get on campus is some weird looks from people. People will just stare or they'll whisper and things. But no one's actually said anything to me. I have gotten some messages that are like, watch yourself on campus, but it's from someone with like no profile picture and like 0 followers. So I don't really I don't feel threatened on campus or anything like that. I know no one's going to really say anything to me in person. So
Yeah.
Well, they did have the protest.
Yes, that was going to be my next
They
question.
had the protest, yeah.
Well, and then there was a professor that was either put on leave or fired, I forget, because the particular professor was giving, as I understood it, excused absences for those who wanted to go protest against you. And then some students said, well, can we also get an excused absence if we want to support her? And it was like, well, you can, but you have to officially organize an event, and created this threshold that was much higher. And so the university did, I guess, discipline that professor. So what is the whole state of affairs right now, like with your grade, with that TA, with, just everything?
Yeah, so they took the grade out completely, so it's just not going to count towards my final grade. And then they put, last I heard, they put the TA that gave me the 0 on administrative leave. Some people have said that he's been fired. I don't really know because the university doesn't tell me anything about it. So I don't know.
She learns through social media.
Yeah, I do.
The university doesn't communicate directly with us
Yeah.
or their attorney or anything.
And someone had texted in wondering, like, do you have a feeling one way or another about how they've handled this? Like, do you have thoughts on what they should have done to the TA? Are you just, all of it?
I think the TA should be fired because if you can't do your job right in any setting, you get fired. So I think they should hold the TA to that same standard. But at first, I didn't think that they were handling it well because they didn't say anything to me about it. I found out about them putting the TA on leave through X when they released a statement, and the statement was talking about how they really cared about situations like this. They take it very seriously. And I was like, that's news to me. No one told me. So I was shocked. I don't think that would be considered handling it very well.
Yeah, then Greek life, I wanted her to talk about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely used to going against the grain at this point because I've been in a sorority at Oklahoma since the beginning of my freshman year, and it's a very worldly sorority, and the norm is definitely not following God or obeying the things that God says to do. And so my best friend and I started a Bible study in our sorority last semester, so our sophomore year, and it's been really fun. But I kind of was already used to going against the grain in that
Sure.
way.
How was the reception of that? I mean, a lot decent participation.
Yeah. We usually have quite a few girls that go,
that's
and
nice.
it seems like they really appreciate it.
All right, so you're flying out this morning, Turning Point USA, massive event. I mean, it's the who's who of conservative folks, influencers. We were talking about there. Yeah, the vice president, and it just, if you do get a chance to meet him and you hug him, don't do it wrong, otherwise you'll be breaking up his marriage. You'll be in a throuple or something. Who knows with the media. But is there anybody in particular that you're really looking forward to hearing or maybe hopefully meeting?
Yes, Riley Gaines, for sure. I've already talked to her, but I really want to meet her. And then Gutfeld is my favorite show. I really want to meet Gutfeld.
Now, so some people may ask, and I think you probably know the answer to this, but you say you're not political or interested in politics. How is Greg Gutfeld your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, because my parents watch it every night. So when I'm on break, I watch it with them.
Well, and it's funny. I think you like it says funny.
Yes, because he's really funny. But I didn't know anything about current events or anything until this. So now when they're talking about it on Gutfeld or when my parents are talking about things, I actually know what they're talking about.
Well, and I think people oftentimes, when you say political, they think Republican, Democrat, and Gutfeld just, even though he has political leanings because they're clear, he doesn't come across in that way. You could tell these are just unvarnished thoughts from a guy. And so in that way, I don't really think of him as political as much as a funny guy who talks about things oftentimes that are political.
And she...
yeah, that would be an awesome... So he's going to be there?
Oh, yeah. Jesse Waters and Glenn Beck. I mean, pretty much everybody's going to be there. Jesse Waters.
Well... And we have the Santa's Angels thing going on, and so that's why I'm not part of the lineup. That's the reason why, and I think that's probably...
It's going to be a surprise guest. You're going to speak after Vance, after J.D. Vance spoke.
No, in fact, that's why he's there, is because I wasn't able to be, and so they had to fill the slot. So that's pretty much it. But
she's also excited to see Ryan Walters. He's been very... encouraging. And so he was the one that was a superintendent of Oklahoma, and he's now in national news. And I don't know if he has a position with the Trump administration, and he's very close to them as far as the education part. And his organization is it Teachers Freedom Alliance? Is that right? And so then they were texting yesterday, but he's been he was in the NBC Nightly News segment talking about Samantha. He called her American hero, and he's been very supportive of her.
It's nice. When you hear people of influence use terms like that for you, what do you think?
I'm so honored when people use terms like that to describe me. And even just talking to people like Riley Gaines, I didn't know much about politics before, but I looked up to her a lot. And so it means a lot coming from people like that.
What about her? Why did you look up to her, being outside of politics?
I think she's a really good representation for girls our age, for people that are strong in their faith and how to stand up for what you believe in, of course, because that's what she did. So I think she just is a really great example for girls my age.
Christy Fulnecki, Samantha Fulnecki with us. Take a quick break. More coming up here. I'm Nick Reed. Samantha Folnecki in studio with us, along with her mom.
Yeah, that's right. And that Christy lady that's
And
been
that
on for
Christy
10
lady.
years.
Yeah. How does it feel to be second fiddle?
I love
on your
it.
own guest slot?
I love it.
Because I'm second fiddle to you normally when you run. So now you know what it feels like. Like, this is my slot. What's going on here? We were talking off air about your invite to the an event at the governor's mansion in Oklahoma, and how it was supposed to be kept secret, but
No, it was not supposed to be kept
right,
secret.
well,
No,
let's
let's told me that.
So let's Samantha start with the story here. So what happened exactly? Yeah.
I was invited by Senator Jett's family. So I went with his family to the governor's Christmas party, and he invited me as his guest. And then he texted me one day last week before the Christmas party, and he was like, "Did you post about it on social media? Does anyone know you're going? Like, did you tell the media or something?"
You were supposed to not, right? Keep it under wraps.
Yes, and he didn't explicitly say that, but I was only telling friends and family because I figured the media would make a big deal out of it, and so that's what he said. He was like, the media is trying to make a big deal out of it. They're trying to be there at the party and stuff. So he was like, I don't know how they would know, and I was like, me neither. I don't know.
And so, how did they know?
Well, okay. So I didn't know it was a big secret. So when you asked me, was it last week? You said, well, what else is Samantha doing? And so I said, well, she's going to the Turning Point Conference. She's going to the governor's Christmas party. She's going. And so then I was like listing a bunch of things. So then later I think it was that day. I can't remember what day it was. It's been such a whirlwind. But Senator Jett texted me. He said, okay, now don't post anything on social media. I said, okay, no problem. Because I've been with my client all day. I'm
Right.
like, and so I said, yeah, I won't post anything on social media. And then I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute. I think I talked about it on the radio today. So, but then, I didn't even think about it because I'm thinking we're in Southwest Missouri, but apparently all the national media pays attention to your show.
Well, it just takes like one person to, I mean.
And so then the media started asking the governor if Samantha was coming to the Christmas party after I was on the radio. I mean, I don't know. The kids are always like, sometimes you overshare in the radio. I said, well, for so many years, I've had no privacy. So I figured, I mean, I'm probably more open than the kids would probably want me to be, but.
You're just a real piece of work.
I know, that's right. But you know what?
Well,
it's not just me now. It's all my little Indians coming up here too.
So I've wondered this. Did you, prior to this, assume that your mother being a troublemaker was always deliberate, and now you wonder, or you see how easily it can happen by accident, and so you think, well, maybe she doesn't always do it deliberately. Maybe it's just in her DNA.
Yes.
Good answer. Well, the thing is, when you stand up for people, when you fight for other people, that's what, I mean, I've always been in the position that I'm always defending someone, or, that's the latest thing they're writing about in the national media is my defense of January 6ers. And so the Oklahoma and some of the other newspapers have totally got it wrong about my clients. I mean, they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So if I had the chance to explain, those people, but frankly, I don't care, because a lot of people that are innocent, that haven't done anything, or, Christians that are persecuted or whoever it is, they need somebody to help them. And so naturally the person that comes to the rescue is going to be demonized. But that has never bothered me because, I'm always the person in the mix, because somebody has to get in the arena and fight for people.
Well, and the fact that they, aside from their bias and talking about how because of this situation, covering you and, she defended these horrible, awful people and so forth, that just tells you their goal isn't to really even tell this story. It's to explain to people why you're bad.
Yeah,
well, look at her. Because what relevancy does that have to your situation?
It
Zero.
doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But to them it does, because what they are trying to figure out what makes you a bad person, what makes you a pain in the ass. Why is it that you are so wrong-headed?
Your motive.
And so
your motive.
we've got to go searching. Well, let's look at them. And to them, it's almost like a cycle of abuse. Like, oh, here's a child who's an abuser as a young adult, and so let's look at the parent. Oh, the parent was too, and that's the way they view it. And the fact that they even cover that, they tip their hand as to how they operate, as opposed to just telling your story.
Well, and look at all the people that have been in the media. Cindy Sweeney, all these people, they want to do research enough to figure out what political party they're with, or what their religion is, and all this crazy stuff. I mean, the past week is just insane.
Maybe you could get an American Eagle modeling campaign.
Oh, that would really make them mad.
Take a quick break. More with Samantha and Christy Fulnecki, Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Samantha Fulnecki in studio with us, along with Christy Fulnecki. And I just hope it's okay I mentioned that because we were talking off air, and you've actually been accused of using your white privilege, which, given the history and heritage of the Native Americans in this country and your status as one, that must have come as quite a surprise to you.
Oh, yeah. It definitely is a surprise. I think it's hilarious. Everyone's talking about my white privilege and how I'm using it to do all of this. And it's crazy. I literally attend OU on an Indian Health Service scholarship.
Yeah.
So my school is paid for by Native Americans because I'm Native American. So I think it's so funny that people are saying that.
That's good. That's a good point. I totally forgot about that she's on an Indian scholarship.
Yeah.
A couple, actually. You have two.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, in the last couple minutes here, I mean, final thoughts that you have. Again, I really appreciate you coming. I know you're on vacation, and this is all, you're probably just so tired of doing all of this, and still you come in anyhow, so thank you for that. But just any final thoughts for people, or maybe, adults who have kids going to college and they're worried about what they're going to face?
Yeah, I think the most important thing for parents that have kids going to college or kids that are about to go to college is to have an established faith before you go to college. It makes it a lot easier when you're faced with the very strong current in college. And just teach your kids that it's not easy to stand up for your faith in any setting, even just in a sorority setting. When I was very much like behind the scenes, it's still hard to stand up for your faith in that setting. So I just, that would be my encouragement to people, is just to really pour into your faith and your relationship with Christ, and make that the priority in your life in every season.
I think that, well, obviously it's really good advice. In the context, especially, of so many parents worried about the university systems in this country and how liberal they are.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear it all the time. Well, what can be done to fix this? And from the executive branch, Trump has made moves in order to try and push back against it. But it's so deep and so cancerous. I think a lot of Americans feel like, I can't even send my kid to college because of that. But maybe it starts at home. Maybe the answer isn't government fixing it, but like you said, having that grounding so that you're okay.
And you know what? You're parents and you pay for their school. So why wouldn't you say something? I mean, That was the first thing I said. Did you follow the instruction? Because, like I said, grades are important. We don't want any special grading system. So you want to make sure your kids follow the instructions. But she was being treated differently and held to a different standard than the whole class because of what she said. So you as a parent, you have a responsibility to say something and encourage your child. That's what, I didn't step in, but when they wouldn't respond, I said, you should copy the newspaper because the university is not going to respond,
Right.
which they did
Any
not.
force their hand,
They
yeah.
did not respond until it was in the Oklahoman.
Mm-hmm.
And so, parents, you have to encourage your child. Don't step in, let them handle the situation, but you can be supportive and say, you really need to stand up and say something, whether it's because of your being Christian or Jewish or conservative. I've talked to so many parents now that, of our 6 kids, we have 3 in college right now. And if any of the kids if they're deducted points from saying something conservative, if it's their opinion, or anything else,
Right.
then they stand up and say something. But I know plenty of parents that tell their kids, just go with the flow.
I know.
So you can get an
Yeah,
A, so
yeah,
you can get in a, medical school, so you can,
Right.
why do that? Are you going to go on Judgment Day and say, this is what I did?
Yeah,
in
but
my
I got a 4.0.
I got a 4.0 to, it's not about just you. And that's what I'm like, no matter what her grades are, we stand by her because, she did what she was supposed to do. And I think she's standing on a larger point. And it doesn't take a lot to change a culture. It just takes a few people standing up and doing the right thing.
Christy Filnacki, thank you so much. Samantha as well. Appreciate it. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 104.1. My name is Nick Reed, Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoors. Spring, plan for the spring. They are in very high demand because if you want it done right, if you want that outdoor living space, you want that uplighting for your home, for the looks, for the security, if you want the professional grade landscaping, water features, outdoor entertainment, whatever it is, and you want it done right, they are the go-to, and they're known to be the go-to, and it's for that reason that they're months out on work. Springtime. I just can't stress that enough. Come spring, that's when you're opening the windows and you're wanting to spend time outdoors and you're really thinking, well, this year we're going to really make sure the lawn looks great and take care of things. I mean, I know that's how I am. Like, this year, I'm going to really step it up. Plan now. Get in contact with them, and maybe you just want to get a visit from Daniel to come take a look at your place, make some recommendations, or tell him what you want to give you an estimate, and so that you can make that decision. But if you wait until spring, it's going to be maybe end of summer or fall before you're able to get that work taken care of. So my message today, when it comes to improving the quality of your lifestyle, your home, and the value of your home with Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor is to go ahead and take those steps to plan now so that come springtime you are going to be ready to go. HunterHardscapes.com. You can find them under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. Someone had asked the question of Samantha Folnecki about if she felt that TA should be fired. And I really respected that she, without hesitation, said yes. And I definitely respect the reason that she said why. And I think this gets missed way too often. She said because the TA was clearly incapable of doing the job. And that so often gets missed. Whenever there is a situation like the one that was put upon Samantha Folnecki, and there are calls to fire the individual that put her in that situation, it is oftentimes done because of a desire for punishment. Not even out of necessarily anger, but that behavior deserves punishment. Not just in order to remedy the situation, but to send an example to others that may also want to let their personal biases prevent them from doing their job. And like Samantha Folnecki said, I firmly have long believed it doesn't have anything to do with that. This is a person that's not capable of doing their job. If you are not emotionally stable enough to accurately grade the paper of a student who is, it costs money to be in that classroom. You are paying for those services. And you're incapable of, because of your own emotions, of doing the job properly, you should not be in that job. How many other students will end up suffering the same fate because that university has decided to have on staff someone who is emotionally incapable of doing the job consistently? This has gone viral. Sarah, did you see the video of that left-wing woman that just verbally accosted that elderly woman who works at Target? Have you seen this?
Was this recent?
Yeah, it was recent. Like maybe in the last week.
The sad part is, I don't know, because you've seen a lot of these in the past,
Well, this one is continued in the news for a number of different reasons. But what a turnaround that's occurred in terms of Target in the news, going from having these bathing suits for girls, but having an area for male genitalia, and just all of the almost perverse, proactive merchandise that Target had. And now they're in the news, not because Target as a company did anything, but evidently, I don't know if it's one day a week, but their employees, the dress code is to wear a red shirt, but you can wear a red shirt of your choosing. And this woman, she looked like she was definitely retirement age, working at Target, and she had a Charlie Kirk shirt on that was all red. And so some left-wing woman filming herself because she thinks she's righteous comes up and curses the woman out, calls her a dumb effer, and just is reaming her left and right. The Target employee was just as pleasant, as sweet as a person could possibly be, particularly in the face of such hatred. And so anyway, it made the news because of just, again, the horrific nastiness of that left-wing person attacking this poor woman. And now there's like a GoFundMe. I saw this morning it was over $200,000. I think it was started to give her a vacation, this Target employee, and it's over $200,000 as of this morning. At the same time, the CEO of the company that the woman works at, it's a medical center, California-based Inlow Health, and this has gotten such traction, and because the woman was identified, again, these people film themselves doing it because they think they're righteous. The president and CEO of the company held a press conference and basically asked people, stop calling and bitching us out because of this. He said that they've received more than 6,000 profanity-laced messages since the video went viral. And he just pleaded with the public, please stop calling the primary phone number because it impedes their ability to serve patients and their families, which is totally legitimate, 100%. And people are wanting to know, is she fired? And they're not really saying. Now, here's my thought. If you're somebody that works in the medical profession and you are willing to walk up to a complete stranger who is an elderly woman because you don't like the shirt she's wearing and you are so emotionally unhinged, you don't have the maturity to stop yourself from not only accosting her, but feeling you are so virtuous in doing so that you film it yourself so that other people can see it, I don't think you should be in charge of anyone's medical anything. What happens if she's dealing with a patient who has a Charlie Kirk shirt on? Are we going to be told, well, now, in that case, she wouldn't do anything. She'd stay perfect. You cannot argue that a woman who has demonstrated she is emotionally unhinged and uncontrolled to the capacity she is, you cannot then, in turn, say, oh, but she can control herself when it comes to dealing with patients. For a lot of these people, they should lose their jobs, not as punishment, not to send a message, but because they clearly are not capable of doing the job. We have Author of the Week coming up here in just a couple of moments. I'll give you a hint. Well, I tell you, it just has to do with giants and the Bible and the Ozarks. And you may think, what the heck? This is an author that James Clary is going to have or had on.
He had him on
He had
a
him
couple
on.
of weeks ago at this point.
Yes, and so Sarah's like, hey, this guy's pretty interesting. He's local. And so that is going to be our Author of the Week coming up in just a couple of moments. Just something a little bit different. Sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. Now the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see an 80% chance of showers in the morning, otherwise breezy with temps falling to 46 by the afternoon. Tonight clear with a low around 24. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 48. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 60.
641. It is Thursday, which means it is Author of the Week time, and we get one of the in-studio authors, which is always just a little more fun. And Nicholas, or he goes by Nick, as do I, Daigle is the author. Genesis 6 in the Ozarks, a compilation book on a Christian's perspective of proof that the biblical giants were right in our backyards. Now, that title alone, people listening, it will come as no surprise to you listeners that you were on James Clary's show, correct?
Correct, yes.
And
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and so, in fact, that's how I learned of you, because Sarah was producing the show and was like, oh, this is really interesting. You want to have this guy. She does, every once in a while, she'll steal from James's guest, and so far she's batted 1,000, because everyone I'm like, yeah, that sounds really interesting. So are you from the area?
So I'm originally from Louisiana, but
all right.
I came up here back in 2008, a couple of years after Katrina happened. I came up here to go to SBU school. SBU, and then I transferred down here to go to the School of Nursing. So I'm currently a nurse at Seasons Hospice.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, the issue of giants in the Bible, it's so funny because growing up, this was nothing that was ever taught or we talked about, which seems sort of odd to me, because you try to get kids interested in the Bible. Like when you're young, it seems like you talk about, I mean, there was David and Goliath.
Yeah.
But you almost just, he was just a really big guy and David was a tiny guy. It seems like a real waste of an opportunity to get people interested in this. But for people, and I think even a lot of Christians, may not necessarily even know about giants in the Bible. So maybe we could start with that and then the connection to the Ozarks.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I was the same way. I just thought story of David and Goliath. He had a really tall guy. But no, these biblical giants are what they were called with the Nephilim in Genesis 6. There's a view that's really making headway that when you look in Genesis 6, it talks about the sons of God and the daughters of man. The idea is that these sons of God were these fallen angels that came down and mated with daughters of man, which would have been Cain's descendants, and creating these hybrid-like beings. So half fallen angel, half human.
Yeah. Which apparently made them bigger.
Yeah. And I mean, and we see this in other mythology too, like Greek mythology. You see these little g gods, which most likely were these fallen angels, mating with women and creating, Hercules, and just these all kinds of different civilizations had stories of these quote unquote demigods. Yeah. And that's what I really believe these Nephilim were.
We just got done watching the second season of House of David, and they really predominantly in the storylines there are featured, not just Goliath, but other giants, and to the point that I knew of biblical references, but it got me even more interested. And it's interesting because I think a lot of times Christians are quick to almost dismiss it, but it's like, I'm not making this up. This is in the Bible.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like even at first I was like, this is kind of far-fetched until I really started delving into it. But I'm like, it's that really not much far-fetched than us believing that the Holy Spirit.
Well, sure. Or anything in the Bible for that matter. Like
exactly. Jesus was born of a virgin.
Right. I mean, well, and it is true. It's funny just the things that we become accustomed to and accepting. And if you take all of these things and you're like, okay, like how is this one unrealistic to you, yet these other things aren't unrealistic?
Yeah.
To me, they're all kind of in the same mix.
It really is. I mean, the Bible is the supernatural. God is the supernatural meeting us in the natural. And that's the beauty of it all.
We're talking with Nick Daigle, the book Genesis 6 in the Ozarks. All right, so what's the connection to the Ozarks?
So the connection to the Ozarks is, it's interesting because if you look back, and I've talked to James about this at length, between the late 1800s to the early 1900s, you have over 800, 900 accounts of anywhere from 7 to 11 foot skeletons being found in burial mounds all across America. All of it being suppressed by government organizations. But all of these different accounts were worthy enough that the governmental institution wanted to actually go and take these giant remains to study them, but yet.
Well, okay, so how do we know that happened, right? Like, people are like, well, I've never heard of this. Is that just internet speculation? How do we know that they were found and that the government said, oh, we want to study this, and then, well, I mean, because that's what people, they just wanted, like, what sort of, I mean, obviously you've got source material, you're finding information from places. What, is literature? Or?
Yeah, I'm looking at old newspaper archives.
Okay, got it, all right.
Okay, sorry, old newspaper archives, and
I wasn't looking for real deep answers.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Just old newspaper archives, and these people that were finding these things, they weren't considered kooky back then. They were just regular average people.
Like, look what I found. This is really weird.
I mean, I find it hard to believe that over the course of 60 years, over 1,000 accounts was some big elaborate hoax amongst every single one of those people.
So you're saying that there have been, over a period of time, I guess specifically to the Ozarks, just local town articles like, hey, Jim out that owns the 80 acres over here, look here, pictures of him with these giant bones he found.
Yeah, so and specifically pertaining, there was one article from 1934 found by a Reverend Sterling Newberry of a 7-foot skeleton that was found within a burial mound off of the James River. And it was very interesting in which this skeleton was found, because it was found with 7 other skeletons, and I think the other 7 were just normal size skeletons, like 5 foot, 5.5 foot for the time. But then there was a 7-foot skeleton, and they were layered where one was facing north-south, and the other one was buried on top. Another one was buried on top, east to west, to where they formed the cross. And there were segments of two of the skeletons buried on top of each other, so it ended up being 8 people buried.
Okay.
With the 7-foot skeleton in there. And in the article, I found Sterling Newberry really believed that to be some kind of occultic practice, occultic ritual burial. Then there was another in 1894 off of the Findlay River, just northeast of Ozark. There was another 7-foot skeleton that was found by a Bruce McCord.
So do we know what happened to these skeletons? I mean, of course, that far back, who knows? They may have just tossed them to the side or gave them to the dogs to chew on.
Yeah. So I know that the 7-foot skeleton that Newberry found, he believes that 7-footer had to have been some kind of high priest or someone who was greatly revered, because the other 7 skeletons would have most likely been servants to this 7-foot skeleton.
Got it.
Or the 7-foot person, deity, whatever you want to call them. And they were probably slaughtered and sacrificed to be buried with this 7-footer that was died and buried.
All right. We're talking with Nick Daigle, the book Genesis 6 in the Ozarks. You're a guy that, you're in the medical industry. You do hospice. So how on earth, just like, as a hobby, to get so interested, and clearly you do research, you're looking up all these old newspaper articles, these archives. Was there something that happened that led you to that, or you just got curious one day?
So I'm crazy like James Clear.
Okay,
I guess. No.
All right.
No, really what got me into it was I had just started reading Genesis 6.
Okay.
I had never really truly delved into Genesis. And, I'm reading Genesis 1 through 3, the creation story, Adam and Eve. I'm tracking. You hear that Sunday school. On to the flood. We all hear about the flood. But then there was that one little segment where it just seems out of place. The sons of God going into the daughters of man and creating the Nephilim. And then right after that is where the flood came. So I'm like, all right, there's just these few verses that almost seem out of place. Because God is, in the Genesis 6, it's kind of preparing you for the flood. Then it just has this little excerpt about the sons of God, and then it goes into the flood. So I'm like, it has to tie.
Right.
So that's really what got me started on this journey. And it was just interesting because as I've started to look into it, I just realized, there's more to this story than just 3 verses.
So did you become interested in the issue itself because of Genesis, as you just laid
Yeah.
out. How is it that it got from that to, oh, wait, some of this may be in the Ozarks?
That's a good question. So that's where I kind of got into watching different stuff. Like Timothy Alberino is a huge person in this. L.A. Marzulli, Tom Horn. He's actually part of Skywatch, which is just right down there in Crane. He's passed away since. But a lot of these guys, they talk about a prehistoric civilization of giants that created all these megalithic structures. So we're told the mainstream narrative that all these megalithic sites were built by the indigenous people of that time. But there may be another story where it was actually a prehistoric civilization that built them, and these indigenous groups just moved in to that area where these were at. And a lot of the folklore is that a lot of these sites were built actually by a giant race. So just that connection. And then I started watching Graham Hancock's Ancient Apocalypse.
Okay.
And it was just interesting because that's more of a secular view on an advanced civilization. But it's just funny because as I was watching that, I started tying in these megalithic sites with an advanced civilization. And that's what, and even in some of the folklore, like I believe the Great Pyramid of Kailua in Mexico, the folklore is that there was giants that built that pyramid before a flood, a global flood, and they hid in top of the pyramid to survive. And then you have the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is a Sumerian origin story, and Gilgamesh was supposedly a giant who built a boat and survived a global flood. And it was just interesting that across all these different civilizations, you have a flood myth, and a lot of these flood myths involve giants and the building of these megalithic sites.
You know, what I've always found to be interesting and just almost counterintuitive is people that doubt, for example, the story of the Great Flood. They will point to the fact that, well, that's a story in lots of different religions. And to me, all that does is increase the likelihood that something like that actually happened. What are the odds that across a world in which you don't have the ability to text someone or pick up the phone and communicate, that you have a variation of that type of story occurring and it not actually have occurred?
Yeah.
So to me, I've always felt that it actually was more validating of the story than less, that you had these other religions telling sort of their version of it.
Exactly. And honestly, even the biblical narrative can describe the different variations if you think about it, because you had the one true flood, which I believe was Noah's flood, and then the next story is the Tower of Babel, where God confuses everybody, changes the language. Well, in that mass confusion, could that have been where the different variations of a flood myth came from? Because these different people were confused, and they couldn't remember the one. They remembered a flood happened, but they couldn't remember the one true flood story. And that's where you get these different variations. And that's just my thoughts on it.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, a possibility.
I like that. It's pretty interesting. Didn't James not once do a documentary, or he was in a documentary looking for giants somewhere, like in the Waynesville area?
Steelville.
Steelville.
With Jim Vieira.
I remember several years ago him doing that.
Well, and it's funny because he did a story on the Sterling Newberry, I think about a year ago. And as I'm looking up this Newberry, Newberry just didn't find the 7-foot skeleton. I mean, he's found, over the course of 4 years, he found a lot of out-of-place artifacts and pottery along the James River, north of Springfield, like stuff that would almost look Aztec in origin. And it really just, it points to it, like it wasn't just Maine clay pottery, it was very ornate pottery. And I came to learn about James because I seen in 2014 someone posted on a blog about one of Newberry's articles, and James put, "I'd like to get more information on your study of this." Well, this guy never got in touch with him. But 10 years later, I just happened to be on that blog and seen that. And that's when I reached out to James and made the connection. And we kind of put a lot of our research together. And honestly, he was part of the key to help me finish writing this book.
Kidding. I'll be darned. I had no idea.
Yeah, some of his research.
He is influential.
Yeah. Some of his research spurred on more of my research.
Oh, very interesting. Any final thoughts for folks? Just on the book, what you want them to walk away with, anything? Those that think you're a nut.
Yeah, I know. Some probably will, but
I say you're at defense is the ultimate, though. I mean, especially secular people, but Christians. I mean, what are they going to say? Like, it's in the Bible. What other
Yeah.
parts do you think are crazy? You know, I mean,
and my biggest driving force for writing this book, and I write this in the final chapter, is that if giants were real, if they really did roam this land, they did roam the promised land, then that means the Bible's real. It's not allegory. And if the Bible's real, then that means we did have a Savior that went to the cross and died and shed his blood for the remission of our sins.
well, I think it's really interesting, and I'm really glad that that you came on the show, and I'm glad that Sarah told me about you. And like I said, I think there are a lot of people that they never even think about this. At the very least, it's something different,
Yeah.
and interesting.
Yeah.
And with the ties in, to the Bible and everything, I like stuff like this. Nicholas Daigle, again, the book Genesis 6 and the Ozarks, a compilation book on a Christian's perspective of proof that the biblical giants were right in our backyards. Our author of the week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone, Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed.
This is your home for Town Hall SRN.
All right, we got a traffic update here, running just a little bit behind, but do want to remind you we are going to be doing the show live at Scramblers tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay.
Job security.
Yeah, I mean, I literally cannot remember the day.
This is, well,
I mean,
maybe it's
why? What is...
early onset dementia.
Maybe. I don't know. At that point, I think it's mid-set. I mean, I don't know if it's early anymore.
I don't know if that's step one.
Listen, I understand forgetting what day it is when you don't work. You're retired or you're on vacation, but I go to work and I have meetings
Because
on
you
certain days.
wake up so
I have
early.
benchmarks that should just instinctively tell me what day it is, but then I'll find that I'm like, what day is
I was trying to give you an out there. Being like, well, we
I
just wake
know.
up so early.
I know.
You didn't take it, though.
Did not. Ozarks Elder Law, we talked with Lori Rook just about the importance of making sure that you do all this planning. And there's been this wave of advertising that you can just magically do all of this stuff yourself for $100. I keep hearing $199 online. I mean, first off, every state is different. But whether it should be this way or shouldn't be this way, these things are complicated and legal enough that it takes a lot of schooling in order to be equipped to do this. I mean, you're talking about law stuff. And the idea that it's almost to me as crazy as been charged with murder. For $199, download a do-it-yourself defense kit. And you'd be like, nope, don't think I want to do that. And that is the same level of absurdity to me when it comes to going up against the government when they are trying to tell you who gets what property when your parents die, or when that person that doesn't, have, medical power of attorney assigned to anyone, but it's your husband or wife, and you want to make these medical decisions, and the government's like, you don't have power of attorney medically over that person, and so no, we're going to do it. And thinking, well, I'm going to show you for $199. I downloaded this kit, and what do you think? They're going to be like, oh, okay, never mind then. It's just crazy to me. So here's what I recommend. Ladies in white, professionals, you get it done right, and you get it done securely. The consultation costs less than it does to download the do-it-yourself deal. The consultation's a courtesy, 10 area locations, and then up front, they'll let you know what the cost is going to be to make sure that you're fully secure. OzarksElderLaw.com, also under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see an 80% chance of showers in the morning, otherwise breezy with temps falling to 46 in the afternoon. Tonight clear with a low around 24. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 48. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 60.
Have you seen the coverage of the plaques that Trump had put underneath the presidential photos there in the White House, the Walk of Fame?
And is that the one where he's got like Biden as like the auto pin?
Yes, but the plaques under him that give the historical background.
I don't think so.
So this is an addition. Now, this is the Walk of Fame, and it's got all of the presidential photos, and yes, Biden's is the auto pin. And underneath them, like if you see at a museum, you see a painting, you see a portrait, it may be somebody that you don't necessarily know, and so there'll be a description explaining the subject matter so that you get some historical background and context as to what it is that you are looking at. And so the different presidents, have their own descriptions. And I guess, I don't know if this is an update or if this is just something that has been added. And here's what, so Biden's plaque reads as follows, which again is under a photo of, or portrait of the auto pin. Sleepy Joe Biden Sleepy Joe Biden was by far the worst president in American history, taking office as a result of the most corrupt election ever seen in the United States. Biden oversaw a series of unprecedented disasters that brought our nation to the brink of destruction. His policies caused the highest inflation ever recorded, leading the U.S. dollar to lose more than 20% of its value in 4 years. His Green New Scam surrendered American energy dominance, and by abolishing the southern border, Biden let 21 million people from all over the world pour into the United States, including from prisons, jails, mental institutions, and my favorite, insane asylums. His Afghanistan disaster was among the most humiliating events in American history and resulted in the murder of 13 brave American service members, with many others gravely wounded. Seeing Biden's devastating weakness, Russia invaded Ukraine, and Hamas terrorists launched the heinous October 7th attacks on Israel. Nicknamed both Sleepy and Crooked, Joe Biden was dominated by his radical left handlers. They and their allies in the fake news media attempted to cover up his severe mental decline and his unprecedented use of the auto pen. Following his humiliating debate loss to President Trump in the big June 2024 debate, he was forced to withdraw from his campaign for re-election in disgrace. Biden weaponized law enforcement against his political opponent, while also persecuting many other innocent people. He left office while issuing blanket pardons to radical Democrat criminals and thugs, as well as members of the Biden crime family. But despite it all, President Trump would get reelected in a landslide and save America. But I mean, look at it. It's just the context of it is so hilarious, because this is supposed to be, and some would say it is, but it's supposed to be just very straightforward, objective, historical, almost boring, statistical, dates and stats and maybe referencing, certain events. And so for Trump to write it up, or to have it written up, I suspect Trump actually word for word wrote this up.
I just got one. Everybody, I'm reading Bill Clinton's right now.
Oh, well, I've got Obama's. Let me read Obama's. I haven't seen Clinton's. Let's see. Obama's reads, Barack Hussein Obama was the first black president, a community organizer, one-term senator from Illinois, and one of the most divisive political figures in American history. Obama also spied on the 2016 presidential campaign of Donald J. Trump and presided over the creation of the Russia hoax, the worst political scandal in American history. His hand-picked successor, Hillary Rodham Clinton, would then lose the presidency to Donald Trump. Now, those are actually some of the highlights. So I'm going to read to you the full. So it mentions him being a most divisive political figure in history. As president, he passed the highly ineffective Affordable Care Act, resulting in his party losing control of both houses of Congress in the election of the largest House Republican majority since 1946. He presided over a stagnant economy, approved the terrible Iran nuclear deal, and signed the one-sided Paris Climate Accords, both of which were later terminated by President Donald J. Trump. Under Obama, the ISIS caliphate spread across the Middle East, Libya collapsed into chaos, and Russia invaded and took Crimea in Ukraine. He crippled small businesses with crushing regulations and environmental red tape, devastating American coal miners, and weaponized the IRS and federal bureaucracies against his political opponents. Obama also spied on the 2016 presidential campaign of Donald J. Trump, presided over the creation of the Russia hoax, the worst political scandal in American history. his hand-picked successor, Hillary Rodham Clinton, would then lose the presidency to Donald J. Trump, which I love how he weaves himself into them. Let me do a break, and then will you read the Bill Clinton one?
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen it yet. These are the descriptions that Trump has placed under the portraits of some of the past presidents in the White House Walk of Fame. Sarah Myers.
Thank
everyone.
you. The Pyramid Roofing Company. I was talking with Josh a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that he really wanted me to relay to people is that door knockers, they are still out and about, and now they are targeting areas that didn't even receive any type of storm damage whatsoever over the spring and the summer. If you experience a door knocker coming to your house, please make sure that before you sign anything that you have your roof inspected by a trusted professional. And my go-to guys are always Josh and his team over at the Pyramid Roofing Company. The Pyramid team, they offer free roof inspections, and they take tons of photos and videos so you can see exactly what they see, and then they work with you through that insurance process without making you sign anything. If it's time to have the Pyramid team out to your home, reach out to Josh today. You can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
All right, so I read here, the new White House installed plaques under the presidential portraits on the White House Walk of Fame, and Biden and Obama both got what I thought is very accurate, but certainly not flattering reflection of either of those presidencies, which of course makes it hilarious. But he also has one for Clinton and then himself.
Yes. Okay. So it says Bill Clinton served as Attorney General and Governor of Arkansas before winning the presidency in what was called a major upset over President George H.W. Bush as president. Clinton signed crime and welfare legislation, which was passed with the leadership of Republicans in Congress. He approved NAFTA, which President Donald J. Trump would later terminate as being bad for the United States. Welcomed China into the World Trade Organization and oversaw NATO's military intervention in Bosnia and Kosovo. Despite the scandals that plagued his presidency, the tech boom of the late 1990s resulted in excellent economic growth, which helped him and the Republicans in Congress deliver balanced budgets for the first time in decades. In 2016, President Clinton's wife, Hillary, lost the presidency to President Donald J. Trump.
So the Obama one ended with a reference to Obama's handpicked replacement. Hillary Clinton lost to Donald J. Trump. The end of Biden's referenced essentially, but then Donald J. Trump got elected to save America. I love that reference there. So let's hear Trump's.
Okay, let me get it pulled up here. Okay. This is his present one. I don't know if he's got plaques for both of them, for both terms. I don't know. But this is the present one. On January 20th, 2025, Donald J. Trump became the first president in 132 years to be sworn into office for a second non-consecutive term following his historic victory in Electoral College landslide, 312 to 226, overcoming unprecedented weaponization of law enforcement against him, as well as 2 assassination attempts. He won won all battleground states by millions of votes, was the first Republican in decades to win the popular vote big, and won 86% of countries or counties in America, 2,700 to 525. All 50 states shifted towards the Republican Party for the first time ever. At his inauguration, President Trump announced the beginning of the golden age of America, and he delivered, ending 8 wars in his first 8 months, securing the border, deporting gang members and migrant criminals, making our cities safe, helping our farmers, defeating inflation, reducing energy costs, and drawing trillions of dollars of new investment, a record into the United States. President Trump signed the largest tax cuts in American history, the largest spending cuts in American history, and implemented the largest ever regulation cuts. He obliterated Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity with Operation Midnight Hammer. He convinced NATO countries to agree to increase contributions from 2% to 5% of GDP, reformed the global trading system, and made America rich with historic tariffs, removed critical race theory and transgender insanity from public schools, and banned men from women's sports. He began the construction of the Golden Dome missile defense shield, renamed the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America, and has built right here at the White House the magnificent Trump Presidential Ballroom after a 225-year wait. But the best is yet to come.
All right. Yeah, I suspect he wrote those. A quick break, more coming up. I'm Nick Reed. Hey, we should have Barry with us tomorrow. Barry from Pinnaker Honda out at Scramblers. It's been so long since we've seen Barry. They do have still underway their big Happy Honda Days. No payments for 90 days for new cars. The 25 Accords, CRVs, Ridgelines. It's my favorite deal. The $25 $3,000 sales credit. Or rates as low as 0.99%, and again, no payments for 90 days. And by the way, those offers end January 5th, currently speaking. So all of the no payment for 90 days and a lot of these deals, you have a little bit of time to take advantage of them, but I would not wait too awful long. And of course, certified pre-owned sale, huge holiday sale. Prices slashed, over 95 vehicles under 25,000 with 1.99% rate. So just a lot of great deals. I'd stop by, check it out. I mean, because, you could wait until after the first of the year and have to make payments before you would if you buy a new Honda now with Pinnaker Honda, South Campbell, just south of Walnut Lawn. Tomorrow, again, we will be broadcasting live. Of course, Friday Road Show kicking off the weekend from Scramblers, and the owner of Hotel of Terror will be with us just after 8:30 to talk about the city's attempt once again to just stamp out his rights as a private property owner. Glenn Beck is coming up next. I'm Nick Reed.